So you don't have to be an expert on Stoicism to practice Stoicism. There are a lot of different exercises and practices that you can engage in, activities that you can engage in that will start to develop your your strengths as far as self-discipline, self-mastery, self-control. So there are a lot of activities that you can look at. One thing that I was thinking about doing was stand-up comedy. Now, if you've watched my videos and you've seen me talk about Stoicism, and even people that have been around me, they say, man, I can't imagine Ken doing comedy because my personality a lot of times comes across as being very serious. Truth is, my wife thinks I'm pretty funny. And I gave myself a challenge to do stand-up comedy. I thought stand-up comedy is something I would never do. I was initially very reluctant to do it because when you stand up in front of people, it's one thing if you just deliver a message like public speaking. I've never had a problem with public speaking because you're there, you're delivering a message, and really not a whole lot that you say. You really don't rely on a lot of feedback from the audience in most cases. But comedy is very much different in that respect because it's an exchange. It's a give and take. You give them information and then you look for an appropriate response, which is laughter. So I used that in several ways to practice Stoicism. One, the diminishment of ego, because you have to put yourself out there in order to do comedy. And if you take yourself too seriously, then you pretty much are going to have hurt feelings, or your pride is going to be hurt if you don't do well. So the first thing you have to do is say, okay, this is not that serious. Okay? And it's literally not that serious. It's supposed to be funny. But the other part is practicing controlling what's on the inside, the internal world. I knew I could control my own thoughts, my own feelings, and the jokes that I would present to the audience. What I could not control was whether or not they laughed. And so as I approached it, I wasn't as much invested in the reaction of the crowd, more so than I was invested in my delivery of the comedy. So that gave me an opportunity to practice that stoic idea of focusing on what I can control and not focusing on what I cannot control. Also, Stoics talk about putting themselves in voluntary discomforting situations. And to stand up in front of a live audience and perform comedy, if you have never done it before, is a voluntary, uncomfortable situation. So I was able to sign up and get in, and oddly enough, I had a great time, and it was such a great experience that I want to do it again. And so I'm planning on going back and doing it again. And the challenge of, coming up with material that can captivate an audience, and then being able to evaluate that performance. And that's another aspect of self-improvement, is being able to assess our performance and how we did in a certain situation, and then improve upon that. In fact, I think Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, I think we can see that he took time regularly to evaluate himself and give himself feedback. And I think as a result of that, he was able to improve. And so that's something that we want to do as well. And that's what I did with my performance is I asked someone to video record my performance. And when I went home, I reviewed the performance and I took notes and made notes as far as things I could do to improve and my performance. So the next performance is going to be better. And when I was thinking about that, I wanted to share with you also this idea of improving your internal state. And the best way I can describe it, when you get up in front of an audience and you perform, if you experience anxiety, just keep practicing and you'll get better at it. And you'll have less anxiety the more you practice, the more you perform. Just like with anything else. It's just like with exercising a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger that muscle becomes. It's analogous to walking up a flight of stairs. And the first time you do it, you're winded, you're sweating, you need to sit down. And then you continue to do it day after day after day. Eventually, you'll go up that same flight of stairs and you won't be exhausted. You won't be sweating. You won't need to sit down. You won't be winded. And so that which I persist in doing becomes easier, not because the nature of the thing has changed, but that my ability to do it has increased. That's my message for you today. I hope you have a great day.